Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wilhelm Screamin'. Welcome back to another day in Destiny 2 for some more Destiny 2 news and the Final Shape / Echoes intel. And this week we have the return of GM Nightfalls, everyone's favorite endgame activity to run. I say that obviously very sarcastically, as these are always quite the grind, but they do award some of the best weapons and mats in the game. And this week we actually have a new weapon available from the GM Nightfall, the Scintillation Linear Fusion Rifle, which you can get in the Adept form for the very first time, unless you had saved up the ability to focus it from last season. But you will be getting also double drops on this weapon this week, because it's, I think, double XP as well as double rewards in all Nightfall activities, not just the GM. So I'm going to take you through this GM Nightfall this week, which is the old Glassway strike. Again, everyone's favorite. It's not quite as bad as it used to be, though the very end really feels more like one of the PsyOps battlegrounds, as there is just so many champions you're going to have to fight, and most of them are overload, which are always the most problematic. So I would suggest bringing some stasis with you. I would also maybe suggest bringing this hand cannon with you if you have found one in your gaming travels so far this season. The bold ending did really well against the overload champions. For this first little area that you'll find yourself in, this is actually the second area, though the first area really I don't think will give too many people trouble, but this one is where you're going to fight a mini-boss. Trick to this area, don't go past this rock you see me using on the right as cover, at least until you've killed the first champion, as there will be a champion and the boss as you first come into this room. But if you move past the rock too quickly, more champions, a barrier champion to be more specific, will spawn in, as well as a whole bunch of other adds that you'll have to contend with. So if you stay behind the rock, use it for cover and take out some of these guys on the right, and you can even kill the boss before you actually spawn in those other champions if he stays in the right place and you stay far enough back. Then you can continue forward and spawn in the rest, but at least take out the first overload champion before you actually move forward or think about moving forward at all. I also want to give a big shout out to my buddy Sinister, whose gameplay you're actually seeing. He'll probably be live streaming at the time that you watch this. I think they're going to be raiding tonight. My clan and Sinister will be the point of view. If I'll be in the chat if you want to come and talk with me, maybe even in the party if you'd like to do more of a live gaming experience with myself and those that I play with the most often. The next area, which I think might give some people a little bit of trouble, is the next mini-boss. Now, for this area, we like to usually set up with 2 people by this pillar on the right, and myself, I usually stay on the cliff to the back left of where the point of view is for Sinister here. This kind of creates a triangulation of fire, and it can also distract the enemies enough for each side to gain an advantage at different points. The barrier champion that spawns in on the left at the very end can be very problematic, as he shields the boss. So if you're that person on the left by the cliff, you can actually use that other pillar once you've cleared out most of the adds to push forward and put some pressure on that champion. Also good for the beginning of this fight if you're the person on the left to maybe keep the boss distracted while your 2 teammates who are behind the pillar in the middle take out the overload champion that will be spawning in as soon as you enter the room. The next area that we're going to cover is the plate section. Now, there's a little bit of a cheese for this particular section. You can actually get behind the wall to the right as you enter through this little crack. Now, that will keep you safe from all the enemy fire, but it comes with a couple of caveats. One, if you die back there, there's a chance that you will spawn in the wall, so you will not be able to be revived. However, if this happens, I would suggest just quitting the game. So if you're on a console, quit the game from your console HUD, or if you're on PC, just quit the game from your desktop and then reload it. You should be able to rejoin your last activity, as the glitch where you can still rejoin if the game thinks you've been booted from an activity, especially endgame activities, is working. You can also use this if you just run out of lives. Great thing about this now is you actually spawn back in alive versus just as an orb that you would need to waste a revive on. Other than that, this section you would definitely want to stay in the back on the right and left, and you can sort of tally the plate. And what I mean by that is you can jump on the plate, bring it to a certain percentage, and then jump off. The longer you're on the plate, the more ads are going to spawn in. So you can actually time it so that you only spawn one wave of ads either on the left or the right at a time. Usually it's about 15% will spawn another set of ads. So in that range, if you're looking at about 35%, you'll see probably a spawn of ads. You won't see another one maybe until 47%, and then maybe, you know, at 68%. It kind of seems a little bit unspecific, but in general, you'll have the 4 waves on the right and the left. Stay in the back, watch out for the snipers. Definitely bring some sniper resist and arc resist. Snipers were one-shotting us until we put on some sniper resist. And try to take out the sniper shanks that actually float down into the middle. Just kind of blend in with the normal shanks first, once they do start spawning in. The snipers on the left and the right can be a little bit annoying because they tend to move all the way up and down this area of the map. So just aim for headshots. We also were using Graviton Lance, which really did well against the snipers, as even if you were only able to get a couple of shots on them, or you were able to kill one of the snipers next to the other sniper, because there's usually 2 on each side, you usually would get both. And now we're going to get into the boss room. Now, like I said, there's a ton of champions in this particular strike. You'll spawn in, there'll be one in the middle. And there is an out-of-bounds glitch for the boss room in the Glassway that you can use if you're, say, a solo player trying to do this Nightfall at a lower level difficulty, or if you're a group trying to complete this on the GM difficulty, or if you're even one of those rare solo players who's trying to complete this on the GM difficulty. I think this will come in handy, as it does provide complete cover from the boss as well as all the ads, and you can still do damage to the enemies in a specific spot. You have to know how to draw them there, and if you're in a group, I would only really suggest using this as kind of a last-ditch effort, safe space, if you needed to, say, get out of bounds just to wait so that you could get your super back in order to maybe revive your teammates. If you're a solo player, it might be the same thing, though I think there'll be more reasons to use it as a solo player. So the spot I'm talking about is right in the hallway on the left side as you enter, and you can jump up through this hole in the ceiling. Now once you're up here, you can still shoot down through the hole in the floor. There is a short turn back barrier there. I think it's really more about how high up you are. As you jump towards the ceiling, it will trigger, but it's not going to trigger anything like auto killing you in this area because it's so quick, and it's really only if you jump up. The space is somewhat limited as far as how you can actually do damage to the enemies that are going to be spawning in, because though you can move around a lot up there, it's really walled off. But you can shoot down. A stasis turret might do a lot of work in that area. Might be good once you have to do the overload champions, which are really going to be the major problem. Don't worry too much about the mini boss spawning in. A good strategy I used was I just had one stasis turret constantly freezing the mini boss so that they just kind of were nullified. They don't do that much damage to you. You really have to focus on the overload champions first, then the chickens, the wyverns that spawn in, are going to be the next priority, and then after that you have the barrier champions. The barrier champions are really more annoying towards the very end, as they're the ones who are not only the last ones you have to kill, but they usually will move together when they're about to die and shield each other. So they can be a little bit difficult. They will always be there, of course, while the boss is also there. So that makes that a bit more difficult as well. Usually what we did for that was we had one teammate shooting the boss on the other side, and we would sort of draw the barrier champions to the opposite side of this room. One boss maybe, or one player maybe in this area shooting at the boss, and then the other two on the opposite side working on the barrier champions. Once you get the 2 down, you will then be able to do damage to the mini boss. Usually this is for any phase, be it barrier champions or overload champions. Usually once 2 are down, you will be able to move the damage on the mini boss forward a bit, knowing that as you do more damage to the mini boss, more champions will spawn in. So that's kind of your way of staggering each wave so you don't get overloaded. Basically, do a bit of damage to the mini boss after you've done away with all the adds as well as all the champions, whichever spawn for any particular wave. Do damage to the mini boss, another wave will spawn, nullify the mini boss, finish off all the champions and all the rest of the adds. Do the rest of the damage you need to the mini boss, and then you'll be able to do damage to the actual boss. That's the best strategy to do it. And it sounds kind of long, but you will be making fairly quick progress through this. The overload champions are definitely the ones that are going to rush you the most. They don't always trigger when they should, so, you know, just give yourself a little bit of extra leeway. The chickens are also problematic. They usually spawn in on the left side, and for chicken waves, which usually only come in, I know they're called waverins, but for this sake of this video, it's much easier to just call them the chickens. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. They usually spawn in on the left spawn-in point, or what's that portal on the left. So you can actually do these sometimes on the left side. Now for the boss, there is a way you can actually do damage to them through this sort of little portal that you see here if you stand all the way to the left. Sometimes he actually comes up the stairs more and you can just sort of shoot at his feet. Pulse rifles with anti-barrier are able to shoot through any of the shields, including the boss's shields, so you can just sort of shoot either at his arm or on his side and slowly pick away at him. And that is going to be it for all the information in today's video. Hopefully you found something in this video helpful. Another big shout out to my buddy Sinister, for Lord Kaibatsu, for helping me out with this video today, for also live streaming it. Make sure to head over to Sinister's live stream if you're watching this. Should be linked in the description box, or I'll pin it as the top comment down below. If you've watched to this point in the video, remember to leave a hashtag GM Nightfalls, or a hashtag the Final Shape, or a hashtag Echoes in the comments section down below for another entry into the next giveaway on this YouTube channel for this video. Remember, like, commenting, and subscribing all enter. We do one every 1,000 subscribers, and when and if we reach 100,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away an Xbox Series X or a video card if you play on PC. You can also leave a hashtag Sinister if you've watched till this point in the video. And once more, I'm Wilhelm Scream. Thanks so much for watching, as always, and of course, we will see you next time.